I know, you're each allowed to have a cookie. One is for you.
Mrs. Onassis, may I have a cookie also? That would be very good right at this moment.
I would like a cookie. May I have a cookie as well, Mrs. Onassis? If he is getting one, I get to have one. You know, all the presidents should be allowed to have cookies. It's not fair if one president gets a cookie and another one does not.
Got any gingerbread? I'm very fond of gingerbread.
Oh my goodness, if I'd known, I'd have had the nanny bake some more.
I like vanilla.
And what's most important for this is a good martini to swallow it all down.
Hear, hear.
We're working towards temperance here in the United States, as well as abolition and women's rights. Now, I guess something's got to give. Is it temperance?
When you say temperance, do you mean not imbibing alcohol of any kind?
Yes, Mr. Jefferson.
Oh, that's just not going to work for me. I'm sorry. I'll never get through an election year without banana daiquiris and vodka.
You can drink and still remain of sober mind. That should be good enough.
My uncle's way would not be caught without something at Sunday brunch.
I say everything in moderation, and 2 or 3 martinis I think is quite moderate.
Yes, my doctor, in fact, has just recently told me I should not drink more than 3 glasses of wine per day. But he says, short of that, I should be fine.
Here's the trouble in my day. Men indeed hold the purse strings of a family and give their wives a pitiable allowance in many cases. And unfortunately, some of those who make the least amount of money are most likely to spend their entire week's wages the moment they're paid on liquor in the taverns. And so by the time they're done after their daily pay, when they've done drinking it away, there's nothing left for them to give their wives and feed their children.
It's interesting you say that, because at the moment, you may not know this, but the person who holds the purse strings in my house is my mother, Sarah. So clearly, we've come quite a distance since your day, Mrs. Stanton.
Well, I'm glad to hear things have changed for the better.
I am not in favor of drinking. I do believe, however, in using things like wine or opium or chloral hydrate for medicinal purposes.
You know, when John and I first came into the White House, well, the Eisenhowers, they would have these long reception lines, and you wouldn't be served any alcohol. You'd have coffee or tea or, oh, I don't know, milk, maybe. So we started bringing back cocktails, and we put cigarettes out on all the tables, and oh my goodness, everyone just loved it.
I understand both sides of the argument for or against drinking, but I am of sound mind to say that moderation is key. I lived through it when we did take away all alcoholics, and it was a dark time, I must say, Miss Stan. I'm sorry to say that. You had quite many people that were most displeased, and it reached across all borders, all ethnicities, all religions. It didn't last that long, though. We tried.
Perhaps if there could be some means of controlling the public consumption or the public ability to buy alcohol so that they don't buy it in excess?
Well, I mean, putting a tax upon it certainly would do that. My tax, the whiskey tax, it was not the original reason for placing it upon it. The original reason, of course, was to pay off the original debts. We had almost $80 million in debt from the War for Independence. But it would also serve, of course, to temper the buying habits of those who tend towards the stronger drink, and instead perhaps they'll put it towards beer and put it towards wine. But people will sleep outside in the rain before they give up their wine and whiskey. This much is true, and so we must look to other methods, I think, rather than abstinence, or rather than a forced abstinence.
If I might add to that, a couple of my predecessors actually abolished alcohol use. It was a large failure. It led to a great deal of illegal operations, and in 1933 we actually abolished that.
What Mrs. Onassis mentioned, the coffee and tea, I know that you said you switched to harder drinks, but coffee, certainly there is a reason why in New York City the coffee houses have become so very popular. Is that, of course, when you are trying to conduct business at a tavern with a great deal of ale, After a while, that business starts to degrade, does it not? Yes, coffee does tend towards the keeping up a sounder mind.
Well, I've been drinking this entire time.
As a lifelong teetotaler myself, it doesn't make you live longer, but sometimes it seems longer.